It is the beginning of 2025, and being a candidate and getting a job, well, it feels impossible. I've been in recruitment for 15 years, and if you're feeling this, it's not just you. There are very tangible reasons making it so much harder to be a candidate right now than it's been in the past. In today's video, I'm going to give you some of the reasons that's happening. Let's go. So the first thing working against you is volume. There are so many more candidates right now, and there are fewer jobs. That makes it really hard to be a candidate. Back in the day, if I was to post a job online, let's say I was posting it on LinkedIn, I would get 20, 30, 40 candidates applying to the role, and there would be a handful of qualified candidates. Go into LinkedIn right now. Search the jobs that you are qualified for. It is not uncommon to see thousands of people applying for those jobs. That type of volume makes it really hard to compete, even if you're an amazing candidate. If you're like a perfect candidate, I'm talking perfect, everything about you makes you a great fit for that role, but you were candidate 757 to apply out of 1,000 candidates, they're not even going to see you. They won't even know you applied. So that makes it really challenging for you to actually get interviewed, and of course, way more challenging to get hired for that job. Now, another huge reason why it's really hard to be a candidate right now is companies are still being really hesitant to pull the trigger on hiring. What we've seen for the last 6 or 7 months is that companies were really cautious about pulling the trigger, adding headcount, adding overhead, growing their teams. Whenever you're in an election year, companies tend to slow down on their hiring as you end the summer and get into the fall. And once that's done, typically you see, okay, you get into the new year, now companies open the floodgates, they're back to hiring. That is not happening right now. And there's a lot of reasons. There is still a lot of uncertainty. You've got a new president now, there's a lot of changes, and there's a lot of things in the market that make it really hard to predict where are we going to be in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 months. Woke up yesterday, there was tariffs on Mexico and Canada. Woke up today, those have been pushed back. Well, they haven't, I don't know, but companies don't know either. And that has a real impact on whether or not they feel comfortable hiring people. Believe it or not, companies don't want to hire a bunch of people and lay them off. That's not good for anybody. Nobody wants to do that. So they tend to be really cautious about moving forward until they know they can actually keep those people for the long term. Now, it happens where companies hire people and they have to let them go, but generally speaking, most companies would prefer to avoid that. And for that reason, they're being more cautious. Another thing that's having a huge impact on being a candidate is AI is actually making the process really hard to be a candidate. Earlier in this video, I said you apply for a job, there's now 1,000 people applying for it. Part of the reason that's happening is candidates are using AI to apply to a whole bunch of jobs on their behalf. There's tons of different services out there where you can basically have AI find jobs for you, customize your resume for you, and apply to those jobs for you. Now, I will say, those resumes are not always perfect, but the fact of the matter is, if you are evaluating those AI tools just on how quickly they can get you applied to a ton of roles, they are quite effective. But the reality is, now all these different postings are inundated with a ton of candidates. Normally it would take so much longer for them to apply to all these jobs, but now it's happening instantaneously. So you have all these jobs that are flooded with candidates, and if you're a normal person applying as you historically have, and you're not using AI, it is really hard to compete with candidates who are using AI to apply to a ton of jobs really, really quickly. And because of that, it is complicating your life as a candidate. Now, speaking of being a really great candidate, if you want to be an awesome candidate, go down into the description box below. I have my full interview prep guide there. It is basically like if you could hire me to prep you to interview for your next job, nail it, and get the job. I've got 25 videos in there that are really instructional. I've got different exercises in there that'll help you be prepared to articulate your story in a compelling way to recruiters and hiring managers, and I have templates for communicating with them. It's everything you need to be a great candidate and land the job. AI. And no, this isn't an accidental repeat. AI is actually complicating your life in more ways if you're a candidate. Right now, companies are trying to do more with less because AI is now available. And there's so many versions of it. There's obviously ChatGPT, there's Grok, there's Copilot. There's so many different versions of different language processing models and different, artificial intelligence tools people can use in their jobs that a lot of companies are like, okay, do we need to hire that entry-level person? Do we need to hire another person for the team, or can we enable our current workforce to use AI so that we don't have to hire more people? The fact of the matter is, sometimes that's working, sometimes it's not. Either way, companies are trying to do more with less right now. Because of that, they're not hiring as much. Less job openings, more challenging for you to be employed. And that's another big factor. Now, another thing that's going on is because of all the things I've said, companies are being very, very picky with the hiring that they are doing. More candidates, let's be really picky, right? Economic uncertainty, let's be really, really picky. There is AI that we can use so we can do more with less. Well, let's be really, really picky when it comes to choosing candidates. So it is really important that you stand out, because companies right now, they're being incredibly picky. And quite frankly, unfortunately, the market is set up so that they're able to do this. So if you're a candidate, you need to make sure you're doing everything you can to impress them in the interview process. One of the things you can do is you can prepare to answer the questions you know you are going to get. It's why I made this video. This video here is the most common questions you will get in the interview process. And I teach you from a recruiter's perspective exactly what you need to say in order to nail those questions. So I'm done here. I'll see you over there.